So I think I've addressed the overheating on my Cub Cadet GTX 2100, and I'm moving out of the old melted hood and into the new replacement hood that I bought online. This is actually a hood from an LTX 1040, I believe, but it fits the machine no problem. I couldn't find a GTX hood anywhere unless I bought it brand new for a ridiculous amount of money. This was like 250 bucks, so I'm cleaning it all up. I've painted the grill. I've sanded down the whole hood. It was, you know, rather dirty and scuffed up and looked used and abused, so I scuffed it down with 400 grit paper with a DA, and then I went over it again with 800 grit by hand, and it looks nice. I mean, it's not shiny. I could buff it. I could buff it to a shine, but it's a lawnmower, so I'm not doing that. It looks cool. I've waxed it, so it should stay kind of clean. And I want to get the headlights taken care of. This hood did not come with a headlight harness, and so that's what I'm trying to do now, is get the headlights sorted out. Okay, while there were headlight sockets and bulbs in this hood that I bought, there was no harness. So I went on Cub Cadet's website and I got this harness for the headlights. It was like $8. I couldn't believe it. I was gonna build a harness for these headlights, and when I saw this for $8, I mean, with shipping, it was under $15, so that was a no-brainer. Ordered that, and here it is. And let me show you how it works. Okay, the harness starts with this connector, which plugs right into a connector on the hood. So when I want to remove the hood, I just unplug this connector and lift the hood, comes right off. And then the rest of this harness, there's the right headlight and there's the left headlight. And the hood I got came with these bulb sockets and these incandescent bulbs. I bought some LED bulbs that I'm going to replace the incandescent ones with, for each. And these sockets are wired in parallel, so they each get 12 volts, their own 12 volt supply. And this is how it works. We've got the connector coming in. We've got a green wire. Pretty simple. Goes to that green wire ground on one headlight, and the other green wire ground on the other headlight. That's pretty easy. The red wire comes up to this wire, and then this wire then splits off. I have to connect this connector to this connector, which has now two wires on it. One going to this headlight, and the other going to this headlight. So both headlights are getting 12 volts. You know, if one goes out, the other one still lights up. You know, if they were wired in series, they would be running on 6 volts each, and if one went out, the whole thing would go out. So I need to get a connector. I need to connect these two together somehow. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a fuse in there or not. I got to assume that this circuit is fused somewhere. And also it came with these all-weather connectors, which fit on these connectors, which do not match the sockets. So I'm going to have to change the terminals on these wires so that they fit my sockets. Okay, so I need to change over the end terminals on these wires because they don't match. I've got this type that I'm going to replace, and then we can hook them up. So let me do that now. And so let me get this in my crimper. And so now we'll be able to plug in these the fixtures on this new harness. Okay, the next thing I need to do is I need to twist all these 3 wires together. And I want to make this a good connection so the lights are bright and there's no heat. There's enough heat under this hood. I don't need to generate any more. So I'm going to solder these together just to make sure. Let's see if I can get that to be one nice big soldered joint. I'm going to put a little tinning flux on it so the solder will stick to it. And we'll melt this flux on here. Like that. And then we'll get some solder. There we go. Now let's see if I can get some solder on here. Been a while since I did much soldering. Alright, I like that. That's a good solid connection. Now I just need to cover it up. We'll let it cool down a little bit. Alright, so what I've decided to do is I got this heat shrink, clear heat shrink, so I'll be able to see through it. I'm also going to put a little bit of 3M silicone dielectric paste on it, just to keep any moisture out of this so it doesn't corrode and start dimming my lights. This might be overkill, but I don't care. So put this heat shrink on here, and then I got a heat gun. So that grease is now filling this whole joint. All throughout inside this heat shrink is grease. Should keep it dry. I'm good with that. I'll call it a good connection. Watertight. It's not going to be in the water much. I mean, if I rinse the mower off with a hose sometimes, but well, I'm good with that. Okay, let's test this harness out. I've got a 12-volt battery here. We've got it hooked into this connector. Negative, positive. And there we go. And I want to see what my LEDs look like. Let's do a comparison. An LED next to an incandescent. Ready? Here we go. Oh, are you kidding me? Look at that. I can't even look at that LED. So these things gotta go. I'm gonna make room for these bad boys. Watch this. Oh yeah. Look at that. Alright, very cool. Okay, before I put the harness into this hood, I did one last precaution, and that was to... I bought some of this sticky shield, which is a heat shield, as the name implies, that you just stick on. Here's a piece of it. It's about that thick. Peel it back, you stick it on, and it's supposed to insulate and deflect a lot of the heat. And you know, I don't want to do this again, so I want to make sure this hood lasts. So I got the fan, the cooling fan of the motor working good. I've got extra heat shields on the exhaust muffler, and I've got these heat shields that I'm going to stick on this hood before I install the harness and put it on the mower. So right now I've got them, I've cut them up and I've clamped them in place to get the best coverage I could, and now I'm going to stick them on. Okay, I've looked around everywhere for a picture of the inside of this hood to see how the harness actually fits in. I can't find a picture or an illustration anywhere as to how this harness works. And again, it was missing from this hood. All I had were the two light sockets. And so this is what I've come up with. I've got the connector there, which meets the connector down at the bottom corner of the tractor. I've got it going up the side to that one headlight. And then it's got to go over to the other. I'm trying to keep it away from the heat, so this is up above the engine and away from the exhaust, over to the other side to the other headlight. So that's the way I've got it. I don't know how the factory did it, but that's what I'm going with. And one last thing, I've got this connector here, which is a female connector. And then over on the tractor is another female connector. So these aren't going to plug into each other, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Alright, so I got to get rid of this connector on the tractor and install this connector that I can plug in the hood with. So let's do that. So I'm going to keep the reds together, and the green will just turn into black, no big deal. So I'm going to spread these out a little bit. I'm not going to twist them at this point yet. I'm going to spread these out a little bit. And then I'm going to just kind of interlock them a little bit and then give them a twist. So I end up with that. Oh! Got to put my shrink tubing on first. How many times am I going to make that mistake? Damn it. Let me get my shrink tubing. God, I hate doing that. Alright, my shrink tubing goes on first. It's like repairing a brake line without putting the nut on first. I've done that a bunch of times. Well, not a bunch, but I've done it more than I care to admit. Alright, so the heat shrink is on there. Now let me redo this again. Kind of spread these out. Spread these out a little bit. And then we're going to go red to red. Like that. And I'm going to pinch them and twist them together. So I've got that. And I'm going to do now, the green is just going to turn to black. We'll do that with these wires. So I've got that. Now I'm going to put a little tinning flux on these joints, just a little bit. And this will help the solder wick right into this joint, instead of rolling up in a ball and falling off. So I'm just going to melt this flux on here a little bit. Just like that. And now these are ready for some solder. So let me get a little puddle on my tip here of the soldering iron. And I'm just going to hold it underneath. Let the wire heat up. And then feed it some solder. Easier said than done. I'm losing it. Oh. I'm out of butane on my soldering iron. Time out. Alright, I'm back with my soldering iron. Just going to touch this up a little bit more. Okay, there's one. Let's do the other. Put a little puddle on my iron. Helps it heat up the wire quicker. There, that looks good. See those joints filled with solder? Those are strong, they're never coming apart. Got a good connection. It's good to go. And let that cool down just for a little bit. And now before I slide on my heat shrink tubing, I'm going to put a little dielectric paste on it so that no moisture can get in here. And now I'll slide the heat shrink over it where there's enough in there still. So we have that. And now I'm going to take my heat gun, and you'll see when I shrink that tubing that dielectric paste will just fill that entire joint, and so water will never be able to get into it. Okay, watch this. And let that cool, and that's a good solid connection. That moisture should never be able to get inside, and so it'll last for as long as I own this mower, hopefully. And there we go, a little electrical tape. Looks factory. Done. Alright, so that's what the connector now looks like for the hood. And again, inside the hood, got a little extra protection. We've got heat shields on the exhaust. We got good airflow over the engine. I'm just waiting for headlights now. Lenses, actually. Okay, got my new headlight lens in today. Singular. I only got one. I got the right side one. The left side one has been back ordered. But the actual, one of the left side lenses was in really good shape, so I just cleaned it and installed it. Here's the brand new one. I mean, it looks beautiful. That reflector in there is just a piece of plastic with, you know, like a Mylar plastic. And I just cleaned the original one up there. It came up nice and bright. And then I put that killer bulb in there, which is crazy bright. And it sets off the whole tractor. Makes it look like it's new. Now, if that lens was all foggy, it would look like an old tractor, but because the lights look like that, it makes the whole tractor look like it's new. And they are bright. Okay, and here's what the headlights look like at night. Wow. I hope the camera really kind of shows this. It is bright. To the side, I mean, this is right to the left of me. I'm like right up alongside the back of this car. That car is just to the right of me. I mean, everything. It's lit up as good as my car. Awesome. And so I think I'm done with this hood project. Again, I got that sticky heat shield that I stuck to the inside of the hood. I've got the additional heat shields around the muffler. I cleaned out the cooling fan and all of its passages, so I got cool air blowing through the cooling fan and through the fins. I've got additional heat shields on the muffler. I got additional heat sticky tape on the hood. And I think I'm in good shape here. It just look, I can't believe it. It looks awesome. And you saw how bright they were. Crazy bright. Love that. And I think I'm going to try to... I thought I ordered some stickers, GTX 2100, that go on the hood there. I've never gotten them. I don't know, maybe I didn't order them completely or whatever, but I'll see if I can get some of those stickers later on. But I think I'm done with this hood project. And now we're in good shape. The mower looks awesome. So that's it on my hood project for this tractor. I hope you enjoyed it. And, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.